Yeah. All right. Well, on this Monday morning, well, look, it did exactly what we said it'd do. When it got to the levels that we were looking at, and so this is the daily. We mentioned last week. Prior to, well, this one doesn't have the 800 EMA because this is the USDT chart. It's a little less history. But we got up into this range, which was the 12. What is that? 1282. I know my eyes, man. The 1282 range. And so, we got all the way up to that 1275, 1276 area, and it came right back down. Now, we could challenge that area, once again. I don't think so. We've got a big week of news, which we'll see here in a second, with CPI data coming out, and that's definitely going to create a little bit of movement this week. You know, we'll call it turbulence. We'll call all of it turbulence. So, I drew this little box up here as an area. I did take that short. It did turn out well. I did get out of it because we are in one of these areas in which, we could either move back up, right, to challenge this area as a follow through to this, maybe get up to the 50. But, as we've seen on other charts, and we will go to this one, is that we've got this 200 and 800 on the daily that's a bounce across. So this would be considered, what a lot of people would call a death cross, especially on a higher time frame. We did come up one time. We came up a second time in order to challenge anybody that was just going blindly short, or basically the late shorts. Based upon this cross, you can see this is somewhat starting to flatten out. With this wick here, which is an imbalance in the chart, I would imagine that at some point we're going to see this, come down, right, to kind of clear out before it comes back up. And so these are just trap moves to try to play games with the traders, or with us, since I do consider myself a trader, to play games with us to try to get us going one way or the other. And so it's just really choppy action. We just opened up as far as the futures market is concerned. So that, which is negative. So we did start off futures with a negative. So we'll kind of have to see where we go. We are getting a vector on the 1 hour, which yeah, okay, we got the 1230. So, but we do have the vector that's coming in here relative to the 1 hour. And so we would be careful of that, seeing that we did just open. A lot of the early moves are a lot of times a false move when we are Monday, in which they kind of set up the week as far as the traps are concerned. So I'd be careful participating in any longs here. Not to say that you wouldn't participate, but you want some tight stops in place because it could get choppy before it goes back up, only to come back down. So I would just be a little bit careful, relative to that. If we looked at some of the volume, we are kind of the POC relative to this chart. And if we get up to yesterday's high, psychological high, that's at 1220. And then we have this peak here again at that 1278, which is the last peak that we didn't get up to relative to the last peak that we were in. So if we go in the smaller time frames, we have, oh wow, we have a crossing on the 14-minute. I say oh wow because I just haven't looked at this chart just yet. But we are, moving up. Daily open is in sight. We do have this cross coming up. So this is either going to come up and cause that cross, which if we got a lot more vectors coming into this area, I would say that would be a good sign. A lot of volume, a lot of vectors coming in, that'd be a good sign that we're going to follow back up. But seeing as these vectors really haven't gone anywhere, and even now we're starting to move to the downside, this may be a stop hunt before it comes back up. This is a play that we'll have to look at as it's developing. And so, not a lot of direction, or a lot of not a lot of clues on direction, at least with the charts that I'm looking at right now. Um, as far as the intraday, probably, Clutch will have something better. But we're up to 4.1 billion in OI. OI's remaining pretty steady. We've been around that 4.1 to 3.9 billion. Seems like they like to keep us in that range. At this point in time, OI is basically following price, which, as we had price move up, we've had some activity that came in. We'll have to see kind of what that looks like, but I would imagine that those are somewhat longs, just given the pattern that we're looking at. If we look at things like funding rate, which we look at as far as from a sentiment standpoint, we've got a lot of positive here. If we just look at an overall aggregate, people seem to be positive. I always like to look at FTX, which is negative here. They generally are counter to the trend. Looking at the stock market, we just opened up. As you can see, the futures were negative, but we're starting to come back from the lows of the negative, but we are to the downside. Oil's over $100, gold's flat, Bitcoin is down somewhat, but not really. So, we always see these things, we talk about it. Whatever we see early on in the market, sometimes you see those reversals, especially coming into a Monday off of a weekend. We do have a big week for news coming up. So nothing really. Let's see. Let's get back up here. 3-year inflation expectations. We're going to hit off on Monday. Just starting off with inflation. We got some comments relative to LIBOR, but really Wednesday again, it's going to be the big day. This is going to be, we've got the Fed meeting relative to deciding on the rate change coming up in the next couple of weeks. So these numbers are all going to be important. Consumer price index, core CPI. So I would expect some activity this week. Relative to trapping, probably coming into Wednesday. I think Wednesday is going to be the big day. We also have some initial job claims, continuing jobs claims on July 14th, and then retail sales data. So all this is going to be about consumer demand, as well as inflation coming up this week. So it should be a nice week to trade with some volatility coming in as they prepare for the Fed meeting coming in the next couple of weeks or so. That's all I got on my end. Clutch, tell what's going on for a little intraday area. Let me just give you back the screen. All right. Well, I think I mean I would agree with you. I think we're in for a little bit of a bounce, just kind of looking at what the activity looks for now in anticipation of possibly bringing it down in the during the week. So this is the day to set up the rest of the week. So we'll see what happens for today. Should you have a clearer outlook tomorrow. But it seems like today they're preparing to kind of move up to the upside, maybe create some more traps before move to the downside later on with some of the information that comes out. So that's all. That's all I got on my end.